Hi, I'm Kenneth Lund. I'd like to show you the frames that I make for machine quilting with home sewing machines. But first I'd like to talk about what is required to do machine quilting with a home sewing machine. So I've kind of decided that I really categorize home sewing machines in two different types. Now let me show you and let me explain why this makes a big difference to machine quilting. One of the machines that I use is a Viking. Typical home sewing machine, lots of stitches, different features. Well, I would say that there's two really big differences. One is, does your machine have a thread clipper? In other words, this machine, as you're used to doing your sewing, you raise the pressure foot, put your you get your threads together, lower it on your fabric, and begin sewing. Now, when you're done, what do you have to do? You have to clip that thread for starting your next piece. Now that makes a huge difference when you're machine quilting. Now let me show you another machine that I use. This is a slightly larger version of a home sewing machine. This one is a Juki, the TL9080, a little bigger and deeper throat. Now the big difference is that this machine does have a thread clipper. So when you're done doing your sewing, you hit a button and it clips the thread. So then you're ready to go on to your next area of sewing or your next piece. Now, the reason this makes such a difference in machine quilting is that you need to consider the proximity of the machine to your work. Now, this is one of my kits made up into a 10-foot wide frame for doing large quilts, and I don't have the rolls on it, but you can see, let me show you, if the machine sets on the carriages that move back and forth and travel along while you do your quilting. Now, you're seeing everything here, but with the quilt on, and I will include some little segments of the machine quilting taking place, you can see that your access to having to clip thread underneath is really crucial. It's really important. Now, it doesn't mean that your home sewing machine that doesn't have a thread clipper is a problem. It just means then that you need to operate that machine the same way you would when you're doing your normal sewing, and that's what you can do with my frames. This is a position you actually work in when you machine quilt with my frames. You're not working with the machine backwards to you. You're not working far away from it. You need to be able to do your work and then to easily clip that lower thread underneath the quilt so that you can move on to another area. When I first started working with frames for machine quilting, I saw this big, beautiful aluminum frame, just beautiful, smooth moving carriages and everything. It was set up at one of the local fabric stores, and I thought, wow, this is awesome. And it was. But I tried it for a minute, and this machine hadn't been working just right, and underneath the test piece of the quilt was just a mass of jumbled up threads and knots. What a mess. And to fix it, you'd have to get up, you'd have to go. It was very cumbersome to actually fix it, let alone to know what you're working on in the first place. So as you machine quilt, you want to be able to keep track of not only what's going on top of your quilt, but to be able to work with what's going on underneath and be able to access it and do it easily. Now, one of my key points always to tell people when machine quilting is that when your quilt is mounted in the frame, always leave some edge distance between the end frame, which would be like here, and where the edge of the quilt starts. That way, you need to service your lower bobbin thread. You can easily roll the machine to that open area, do your work, and bang, you're good to go again. Anyway, these were just some quick tips on my take on machine quilting and how to use any type of machine to do so really effectively and enjoyably. Thanks. So here we're following a pattern that we drew on the material with a marking pencil, water soluble.